Forget the histories you've been told. I want you to listen, to witness a performance, a kind of mythic parable, spoken from the very heart of the cosmos. This is my story, a tale of balance, of fire, and of ice. Before any of the realms, long before gods or life, there was just the void, a huge primordial emptiness that the old tales called Ginnungagap. And right there, in that frozen silence, I existed. Not really as a being, you see, but as a principle, the silent chorus on an empty stage.
You could call this my prologue. It was an age of perfect silent order, the entire universe held in a single, unmoving, frozen frame. Just this flawless, crystalline stasis, and it was my job to protect it.
My whole purpose was this philosophy, the Iron Rime. I truly believed that stillness was safety, that any movement, any kind of change at all, was just a step toward dissolving into absolute nothingness. It was a simple, unwavering truth. I was the silent arbiter of permanence.
As I saw it, these were the two great forces. On one side, you had my world, the law of stasis. It was safe, it was permanent, it was silent. And on the other, it was the primal fire of a place called Muspelheim. Dangerous, destructive, but filled with this terrifying, chaotic vitality. One was a prison of ice, the other a furnace of chaos. And then, this question started to just echo in the silence. It was like the first tiny crack in a sheet of ice, in my own certainty. I mean, if the void is nothingness, then what was this perfect, frozen order I was guarding? Was it really life? Or was it just a more beautiful form of empty?
And just like that, the first act of this cosmic play began. A decision started to form right there in all that stillness. I realized I had to understand this vitality, that I was sworn to keep at bay. So I chose to do the one thing I was never supposed to do.
I reached out from my cold, silent domain right into the roaring heart of the fire giant's realm, into Muspelheim itself. It was an act of pure transgression against the very law that I was. And in that moment, contact. And it wasn't a gentle warmth, believe me. It was an explosion. A single primal spark that completely redefined my entire existence in a searing crimson flash. That spark, it became a part of me. It was an infection for sure, one that shattered my perfect stasis forever. But, it was also a blessing. It gave me the heat of creation, the potential for destruction, and a whole new identity written in fire. I wasn't a passive observer anymore. I was now an agent of change.
But a transformation like that, it doesn't exactly go unnoticed. The old gods, the Aesir, who thought of themselves as the masters of order, they saw what I had become, and they were absolutely terrified. So, they called a trial.
You have to understand, their world was one of ink-washed grays, of rigid law and frozen authority. To them, my vibrant crimson fire wasn't a form of life. No, it was a betrayal of everything they stood for. They looked at my new form and all they could see was corruption. And that was their verdict. They couldn't see any potential for new life in the spark, only a threat to their stagnant authority. Their whole philosophy was so rigid it had become brittle, It was just unable to comprehend that change was necessary. And so, they cast me out, the guardian of law, now an exile, all for embracing the very change that the cosmos needed to survive its own silent, perfect death. It was in that exile, as I wandered the 9 realms, that I finally got it. The absolute order of the Aesir, it wasn't a shield against the void. It was a prison, a beautiful, crystalline tomb. Their rigid law was every bit as dangerous as the mindless fire of the giants. Which brings us to the epilogue. My exile, it turns out, wasn't an end at all. It was the beginning of my true purpose. I had to forge a new path, a balance between the two extremes that were trying to dominate existence. I found a new destiny. I couldn't just be the ice of my past, or just the fire of my present. I had to be both. I would become the necessary gardener, the architect of the cosmic cycle itself. So this is the philosophy I forged from my journey. The ice of absolute law, the path the Aesir were on, that only leads to stagnation. But the fire of pure chaos, that just leads to oblivion. The only real path forward is the middle one. a constant, necessary cycle of death and rebirth. This is my ultimate purpose now, to use the crimson spark not for mindless destruction, but for purification. To burn away everything that's rigid, that's stagnant, that's dying, all the things that choke out new life. I have to turn the old world to ash so that from that very ash a new seed can grow.
And that leaves us with a question this whole parable asks of all of us, really. I want you to look at your own life, your own systems, your own beliefs. What has become so rigid, so frozen, that it no longer serves life? What in your world must burn to be reborn?